dude, check this out.
We're gonna have to. Should it be like
Yeah.
a? We'd have to figure it out. Like, dude, check this out. Could be like, dude, check it out. Like at the end of like heavy riff, and then like it ends with, dude, check it out, or dude, check it out. Like a wah pedally kind of cloud on the cloud. So yeah, I don't know what you call it. Like if I was at work, I would have called it, hey, I slacked you. Did you get my slack? I slacked
Slack.
slacked you.
Uh,
Pretty funny. We made it a verb.
I've never heard of that. Is that a Southern thing?
Well, no, no, no. It's an actual product. It's called Slack. It's like
Oh,
Discord, I think, is like the open source free version because they look very similar. And Slack is what I use at work. A lot of companies are using it. A lot of communities for software and in general are using it. So like that's what we use for it. It replaced like Same Time and um, all those internal chat tools, right? It's called Slack. It's really cool. It's like you can have company to company Slack channels. So like my company has several Slack channels joined with our customers, so we can talk to them. It's good and it's bad, but anyways, yeah, Discord. I don't know. Like, I don't. Did dude? I Discorded you. That just sounds weird.
I
Slack.
dissed you, man. Hey, diss.
Yeah. Why are you dissing me, man? Why are you
Why?
dissing me?
Yeah, it's gonna be confusing.
I, I think also, I think giving shout outs and then in post we can put links of the sites up
Hmm.
wherever.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I was thinking about that too.
Um, because I do want to give a shout out to Josh at JHS Pedals. For like I watched a lot of his YouTube channel, his YouTube content, and he turned me on to a guy, Elliott Smith. He's no longer alive. It's kind of like I find these artists and they're dead. I'm like, what the fuck? But Elliott Smith, and I can share that link with you. I can put it into the Discord channel. That's right, we can do that. I'll share that after this video. Um, the one album he wanted everyone to check out, and it's really cool stuff. Some acoustic, some electric. The vocals are a little bit of a departure from what you would have considered from the '90s, but it was really cool stuff.
Hmm.
Dude, check us out. Check us out. It's a show about flashing people. Dude, check us out. Oh my god.
That was that Weird Science where
Yeah.
they're standing in the gymnasium, dude, check us out. And they're standing there without the shorts on. Oh man. So much of that movie reminds me of you.
Let's go. Well, everyone thought I looked like him too when I was younger.
Yeah.
So
When
this.
was this?
Oh, I want to guess. It was like 87. Let's see. When was
Wow.
85? I was close, right there.
Wow.
85. All right, here we go. And I apologize if I start saying the words.
Beautiful. You know it, Gary. Do you know what I would like to do?
Shower with them.
Shower with them. Then,
We hit the city.
bang, we hit the city, baby. Dead on. For little drinks, little nightlife, little dancing. We throw a huge party. I mean, huge party. Everybody's invited. Women everywhere. All these girls, they're all there. Naked bodies
Gary.
everywhere. They all know my
Gary.
name. What?
Nobody likes us. Nobody.
Why are you messing with the fantasy? We know about the reality. Don't ruin the fantasy, okay? And then we're hip, man. We're popular. We're revered.
Man.
We're studs. When the smoke clears, right? Those two dames fall amazingly, completely, and totally in love with us. Why? Check it out. Yo! Check us out!
Oh boy. What a classic.
Wow.
Just and that's the beginning of the movie too. I love that. That's just
I bet you I haven't seen that in 20 years. Wow.
it's been a long time.
At least 20 years.
Yeah. That was God, that was back when you could just like watch things over and over and over again. You know, VHS, we just wore a VHS tape out, by the way. Boomer moment, I guess. We're not boomers, but VHS tapes. Do you still have any?
Yeah, I have all of our high school football games. I have some movies and some of the stuff that we did in my basement with the musical instruments. We had turned the jukebox on and pretend like we're playing before we
Oh,
knew how to play.
the guitar with no strings.
Yeah,
Isn't that? Didn't I bring over a guitar? Didn't have any strings on it, just so we could have a prop.
it's something like that. It's been a long, long time.
The jukebox.
I still have that.
You
That's in
have
my basement now. Yeah.
nice. Nice.
1964 Wurlitzer.
Wow, man,
Yeah.
that's probably worth a pretty penny today. Is it still? It's working. Everything works on it.
Yeah. Yeah. Works great.
Very cool. I just realized I only have 3 guitars and you have 6. That's bullshit. I need to get some more guitars. Yeah.
Are you counting?
Oh,
this
7.
one?
Sorry, no, I forgot about that one. Yeah, 7. Jesus, way to shame me even more. So,
Yeah. Well,
yeah, check us out. Weird Science. And I quote that movie so many times. Like in your quest for fame and glory, you forgot one small detail. Remember, they tried to make another Kelly LeBrock
oh yeah.
second time, and then they're like, "You forgot to hook up the doll." Oh, we forgot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So down there is are you actually in Atlanta or what? Where are you at?
Roswell, Georgia.
Roswell.
We're at this like weird place where like you pull into the street that pulls into my neighborhood, and in that process of making 2 left-hand turns, I see the signs for 3 different cities. So we're like at the northernmost point of Roswell, bordering on Milton, Georgia, and we're at the north, in the north part of Roswell. We're at the eastern part of it, which borders Alpharetta. So we're at this really weird, like our kids go. We live in Roswell, but our kids go to Milton. At one point, half of this neighborhood, the kids went to 2 different high schools, which really kind of is great for a neighborhood of 75 houses. So, but yeah. And you're in Baltimore, right?
Chesterfield still. Yeah, just north of Detroit. No, we share the same zip code as New Baltimore.
Oh,
So about a half a mile in New Baltimore.
okay.
So
I see a lot of posts from you, like going to restaurants in New Baltimore and hanging out in downtown New Baltimore. So it must be pretty close for you then, right?
yes, I remember where you used to live.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're about like 8 minutes from there, if that, 5.
Cool.
So where that water tower is, I mean, we could ride. I could walk there. I mean, it's not very far.
Yeah, that's a bummer because when I was living there, you were in.
21 miles. I was south of there, a couple miles.
Yeah, for a bit. What else we got? What else did you bring? Did we want to talk about? Any subjects?
Let's see. I I watched the Get Back documentary by that Peter Jackson put together about the Beatles recording session.
Okay.
That 6 hours, well, 6 plus. They're like 2 hours and 20 some minutes each. And I guess his original cut was 18 hours, down from the 60 hours of video and 120 hours of audio. But I'm ready. I'm ready for the next 18 hours of it's amazing being musicians, and you more on the recording end than I with your running your studios and whatnot. The whole Let It Be album, which they started recording on the 2nd of January of 1969. They had probably 3 or 4 days off when George quit the band shortly for a short period of time. So a 3-week span with him quitting, they recorded Let It Be live, one single takes. So
George comes back and goes, what? What did you do?
no, well, he obviously he came back to do the recording. That while he was gone, they kind of just
it was a trial separation. We really didn't get divorced. I'm still in the band.
Yeah, there's some scenes that I'm a huge Beatles buff, and I've got everything. And I thought I read and seen everything, but there is stuff in there that just
Yeah.
could have changed the way music proceeded from that time forward. Um, some scenes where, I mean, I don't want to spoil it. There's a scene where Paul and Ringo leave the room, and George and John are sitting there chatting, and George says, "You know, I've got all these songs that I've written, and it would take, you know, years and years and years for me to get them all out, doing my one or two per album. And I feel like I kind of want to do an album of just me by myself." And John's like, "That's a great idea. You need to do that." He's like, "You do that, and then we'll come back. We'll record another Beatles album. I'll do a solo. You know, Paul can do a solo. We'll come back. We'll record a Beatle album." But Paul never saw that footage. So in a recent interview, he said, "Had I seen that little bit of conversation back in 1969, the Beatles would have continued on throughout all of our careers, recording at least."
So those two had the mindset of, we're still a band, we'll still do something together, because each of us brings something unique, and when we make a Beatles product, we make a Beatles product.
Right.
But we could still do our own things. And I get that. I mean, I've done the same thing. I'd written songs that I didn't write with other bands, and vice versa. And I've contributed to other bands and said, "That's your song. That's this. Play it, use it, record it, sell the album.
Right.
I don't care."
Right. Seeing songs develop from scratch. I mean, we've both written songs. We've written songs together, and the process is just so much fun when you start contributing. But seeing them, you know, Paul just mosey on in the studio before everyone gets there. Maybe George is there, or Ringo shows up, and he's just kind of strumming, messing around, and he starts coming up with Maxwell's Silver Hammer. And you know, by the end of the day, they're like, you know, they're leaving. They're like, "Hey, Mal," which was Mal Evans was their road manager, I think. He's like, "Mal, we need an anvil and hammer." So the next day, there it is, a big anvil and hammer in the middle of the room, and Mal Evans is dink dink, you know, for the Maxwell. And it's just the way they developed the stuff is just, you know, it's just beyond, like, I don't know, awe. I mean, just in awe of what they did. I mean, you see them guys chatting in one room, and you hear in the background Paul playing for the first time in front of anybody an unfinished version of "Let It Be." I was like, "Let It Be." I mean, just the songs they came up with in those 3 week period, just I can't. I put them up against any band ever.
I know, and I like to get under your skin by saying I'm a Stones fan.
Yeah. Well,
but yeah. Anyways, like, yeah, when you said how many hours of footage they had to whittle it down from?
I think they had a total of, if I'm not mistaken, around 60 hours of video and around 120 hours of audio. Because what they did is they put a mic overall to catch all just the chat and whatnot. So he had to take that and the audio footage and mix them together to put them together so that you know, they're in time. And it was just amazing, some of the stuff. I mean, even songs that didn't even make it onto any of their Beatle albums, that like "All Things Must Pass" from George's first solo album, and then like I don't know, just other songs that Paul wrote that he was going to bring to the band and ultimately ended up on his solo. And same with John, "Jealous Guy." It just, there's just so many songs, great, I mean, great songs in that short period of time. And you look at any band from modern history, you know, they'll put out an album once a year, once every 2 years.
Yeah.
You know, in their heyday, the Beatles are putting out 3 albums in a year. Just
4 songwriters. I mean, you get that, right? Like,
right.
And that's all they did.
Yeah. Yeah. They quit touring and I think 66 and just did you know, studio stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, like, they didn't have a day job. That was their craft. That was their income. That was their breadwinner.
Yeah.
You know, like, that was all they did. And I wonder how many struggling musicians today who have to, you know, have a part-time job or even a full-time job, that don't find the time to, and they're talented, they could definitely write the songs and continue to pump them out. They just get pulled aside by the realities of life and shit.
Life.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get it.
We're both living examples of that. You gotta, I mean, then there's the put it down and then come back to it later kind of thing. And you're like, well, what do I do in the intro? Go
Right.
go be a grip for a movie. Go work in film. Go work in a studio. Get exposed to other bands. Get exposed to other people's way of creating their craft or creating their art. Right. A lot of artists, a lot of visual artists, painters will do that. Right. They'll study under a certain painter, or they'll go look at other, other genres of or mediums to kind of get some creative ideas. Right. So same would be with music, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out. I wish I'd known about this last week. I've been off for the last 2 weeks, hence the grizzly beard. Wife is really liking that. Dude, I did nothing, by the way. If you ask me what I did for the last 2 weeks, as little as possible. I think I sent you that little audio bite or sound bite yesterday.
Sorry, I didn't look at it yet.
All right, so I'm working on this song called Pageant. And this one chord that I do, I don't even know the damn chord, to be honest. I think it's in, well, I'm in drop D, so it's probably like a G something or other. Anyways, you can tell I'm not a classically trained musician. So I'm holding the chord. I'm like, that's a very interesting chord. I've heard this before. And I think I know the band. And so I'm just farting around with it, doing different tempos with it. And then I got to this pattern. I'm like, yeah, I know what this is. Let me play with it some more. And I wound up with, let me see if I can do this. Optimized. I'm a QuickTime player. Okay. I wound up with this. And it just repeats itself. It does it twice. I'll spare you the second one, but it was just like, yeah, that's why I sent that to you on a scale from 1 to 10. Is that a Queens of the Stone Age kind of song?
It had that feel, but if you were to take it down a whole step or a half step at least, and then drop the D,
yeah,
because their stuff is like really low.
Like
it also had a little bit of a 2000s Foo Fighters sound to me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a mix of Foo Fighters and Queens of the Stone Age in the 2000s anyways. But
yeah,
if you watch this video, a scale of 1 to 10, go ahead and put your, number in there. And please, let's keep the "you suck" out of there. I could care less. I already know I suck. But go ahead and put that in there to just let me know what you think. If it's a Queens of the Stone Age song, should I continue it? Because that's literally all I recorded was just those two measures. And then I said, okay, I'll come back to it later because it wasn't what I was working on. It literally was in the middle of tracking a guitar for a different song. And I went, hold on, let's clear the session, start a new session. And then I just did a boop boop dip, boop 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 dip on the MIDI drum kit. I use Easy Drummer, and then dropped those guitars and some bass down. So 2 guitars.
I love it. I mean, that's my style.
It was fun. It was fun to be able to kind of pivot and go, wait a second, hold on. Like if I was in a room though full of like 6 people, would be like, AJ, what the fuck, man? We're paying $100 an hour. You can't do this right now. Go do that at home. But I'm at home, so it was kind of fun. So what did I watch? I did watch some TV. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was the man on the couch for a little bit. I wasn't high. I was just the man on the couch. Okay, so it's related to the man on the couch. Steve Wright. I watched the Dave Chappelle, the Closer episode on Netflix. And then I don't know if you heard about this. There's like a whole uproar about this, and I feel like the people that are in an uproar they didn't know Dave Chappelle until I think not this current episode, but the show, but the one prior. I guess it got a lot of folks in the LGBT plus community upset, and I didn't watch that one, but I know Dave Chappelle. He offends fucking everyone. Literally does not hold bars on anyone or bar holds in anyone. And I watched it from beginning to end, and I could see where there are some parts where people would be a little upset. But the way he left it at the end was just, wow. I was amazed. And I thought it was worth watching. I really thought it was worth watching. So I'm not going to ruin it. I'm not going to ruin it for you. I'm not going to ruin it for anybody. If you want to watch it, if you don't like Dave Chappelle, that's cool. I watched it, and I watched it knowing that there was a lot. I've seen two of this because he had a series. He signed a deal with Netflix for like a god awful amount of money, and I saw two of them. But then I didn't see this one. I should probably go back and watch it too because it could be really, really offensive, and I'd be like, yeah, no, that wasn't good. But he always tells you, look, I'm gonna go places that you might not be comfortable, and if you're not comfortable with that, then go get your money back, turn it off, change the channel. Parental discretion is advised. I mean, we grew up that way, right? Like our parents were like, I mean, do you remember Two Life Crew? The shit they would say in Two Life Crew? And we were at the this is back when you could go to clubs as like a 16-year-old kid and they weren't serving any alcohol, and they were playing that shit, and you had 16-year-old kids yelling some pretty vulgar things. Boys and girls, everybody was doing it. And we just kind of went, this is all right. If you don't like it, that's not your thing, fine. But yeah, anyways.
That speaking of the Two Live Crew, so for those that are watching, we went to a Catholic high school, well, grade school and high school for part of the time together. But so, we're on returning back from a football game on a bus, all the players, cheerleaders, and having a good old time. And somebody, listening to music. And what do we listen to? We listen to Two Live Crew and NWA blasting out, singing it along, not oblivious to what we're actually saying. So, it's just, different times. And a lot of fun back then.
And was there like I was on the track team, so I did football. So our buses were a different group of people, but some football players. But there was usually like a coach or two or adults on the bus. Was there nobody on the bus except for like the bus driver from The Simpsons for you guys?
Well, our bus driver, I think that, the coaches were there, but back then we used to think of them as old people, but in reality, they were in their 20s. Our bus driver had graduated like 3 years before us, so we're all kids basically, including the coaches. So yeah,
different times. This is like I keep saying boomer, but I keep getting, my kids are older than 12. Let's just say that, and younger than 23. But they have frequently called me a boomer, and I feel like as a boomer, I should be legally allowed to backhand the shit out of them, which we don't do to children, right? But a boomer would.
Boomers did.
Yeah, boomers. Yeah, but go ahead.
And we fall squarely. I mean, we're squarely in the middle of the Gen Xers. I mean, we are Gen Xers. So
we're so Gen X, we are completely lost. I don't even know.
I don't even know what a Gen Z is.
Yeah, like,
isn't that a T or something like that? Gen Z.
Gen Z. So why I mentioned the whole boomer generation thing is I'll bring up certain things where people will be like, dude, you're just finding out about that now. When I got into software development, one of my mentors, he told me, he said, you're going to stress yourself out if you do this one thing wrong. And I'm like, what is it? He goes, try to learn everything. And I said, well, what do you mean by that? He goes, anybody can write something. Like if you were to go build a product, you need resources, materials, a mill, and you can only build so many of them. Well, with software, anybody can do it. Anybody can write code. And all these frameworks and libraries and things are getting developed. He said, if you try to learn them all, you're going to burn yourself out. The same thing happens with just products in general. Like how many social media platforms are there right now? There seems to be like a new one every day, right? Hey, check me out on Bing Bong. I made that up.
Spin tick.
Yeah, exactly. So
my talk with a T.
My talk. Yes. Talk. Although we could take that somewhere. Not everyone. I got to do it. TikTok. Just got to do it. It'll get bleeped. So the only reason I get pulled onto certain social media platforms, and if you look at my accounts, I hardly have any activity on some of them. Like, is my kids going, did you try this? Look at this. Look at this. and then watching them. So that's another like parenting thing, is like, oh, you're on Instagram. Great. Well, I've created this account.
Insta. It's not Instagram. It's Insta.
Is it just Insta now? See,
It's Insta.
Insta. Because long words are hard.
Yeah.
Okay. So instead of sup, which is what's up. So, right? Jesus.
Yeah.
And I learned that the other day. So I'm on Instagram, and my wife's like, I sent you some stuff on Instagram. Did you check it out? I'm like, no. How do I do that? Sound like
I thought Instagram was just to look at pictures. You post pictures.
it is. She sends you. You can send people links to pictures, and now something else they've done, which is I think they've integrated. My daughters have said this is like more TikTok than anything, is these little small videos, and they're like funny little clips with like tags and words and stuff, and people dance and do. It's like TikTok. But I don't have TikTok, and I refuse to get another social media platform. So I'm on Instagram. One Saturday afternoon, my wife's like, did you check out the Instagrams I sent you? And I'm like, no. How do I do that? She goes, here. Do you ever use this? I'm like, no. I only used it once. I was proving a point to one of my daughters that they accept invites from fucking everyone. Everyone. So I created this guy. His name is Ralphie Johnston. And I found a Google. I just looked for a random picture of a dude and made that my face. And I sent her an invite, and she accepted it that day. I'm like, do you know who Ralphie Johnston is? She's like, how do you know Ralphie Johnston? It's me, you idiot. Anyways, so my wife is showing me how to use Instagram. Like, I'm just seriously don't understand technology. And okay, all right, I got it. So apparently she sent me like 400 Instagrams, and I'm ignoring her. I'm surprised I'm not divorced at this point. So she shows me that. She goes, now this is like, what's this down here? She goes, this is Reels. I'm like, okay. She goes, well, go ahead and click on it. I clicked on it. And this is where the funny videos start coming in. Oh, that was funny. Swipe up. Now they'll keep looping if you don't swipe up to the next one. But what you shouldn't do, she told me, is you shouldn't like them, because then you get nothing but what you just saw and ads and all that crap. So, but I literally lost a Saturday afternoon to Reels on Instagram, or for the newer, hipper kids, the TikTok on Instagram. Right. But it was just.
I think I might have too. I mean, I think there's on the social platform with the face has a subcategory where you can look at Reels videos, and yeah, they're addicting.
Doesn't that platform own the Insta platform? I think.
I don't know.
They're all the same thing. It's all big data on the internet.
Yeah, that's a definite. What are we calling that? A work time bleed, or what'd you call it?
I called it a time suck.
Time suck. Yeah.
Yeah, like this just sucked a whole week out of me. Or if like if we could take and do Half Baked again, Stephen Wright would be on the couch. He wouldn't be sleeping. He'd just be looking at TikTok videos. Ha, this was funny. Ha. That's what he'd be doing. That was my invitation. Gear. That was the thing I was looking for gear. I got the gear I'm geeked about today. Can I get to it? I might have already showed this to you. I think I already did. I think I showed it to you last week. Maybe. So I've been using this NT1A microphone from Rode. I'm a huge fan of Rode. They don't sponsor the show, by the way, but maybe they will someday, because Australian mics are badass. But I've been using this forever. And this is the Shaquille O'Neal approved microphone, and I'll get into that in a minute or two later on. We'll go into that. But I've been using it for a while. Now, I'm not going to use it on podcasts or web, whatever we call this, web, blog, vlog. What is it called now? I don't know. Just two guys zooming. Who knows?
Vlogging. Video blogging, logging.
Is this the VHS? Are we doing the VHS right now? David, are we?
This might be Betamax, but I think it's a little, experimental.
So I went to go. You remember I used to have a Rode NTK.
Yes.
That was like my best microphone. And when I rage quit recording in 2007, was a dark period in my life. I sold everything, and now that I'm kind of getting back into recording and writing, thanks to COVID, I would like to go look for an NTK. And I ordered one through Sweetwater, which also doesn't sponsor the show, but they're an amazing gear delivery, and they send you candy with every order. My rep said, "Hey, the NTK is still not around." I said, "Well, great. Well, what else you got?" Because I'm kind of going to start recording some stuff in late November and December. And I already looked and I found it, and he suggested it, so I'm like, I got it. This is the Rode K2, and the difference. This one's a little bit more different than the NTK in that it's got like multiple patterns, and I'm going to murder the pattern names: cardioid, hypercardioid, whatever that is. Like I can do just one side, both sides. Anyways, and the other thing was cool about it is this comes with its own power supply, which is off camera, and I'm probably going to I can't bring it over here. It's got its own power supply, like a big box power supply, and a special plug. It's not an XLR. You got to plug this into the power supply and then XLR from the power supply. And there's a tube in here.
Oh,
it's amazing. Way better than this one. I mean, so I'm geeking out on this right now. Rode microphones, like they're not cheap, but they're definitely like a lot less expensive than like a Neumann or a Telefunken. If you're getting into those high-end microphones, that sounded a lot louder than it did though. That little knock. I probably didn't break the tube setting it on the table. But anyways, that's what I'm geeking out on. Is gonna start doing some vocal recordings with that microphone. It's gonna be amazing. So
yeah, it's all Greek to me.
Rode K2
microphones, put me in front of one and you don't want to hear it comes out. Maybe put a 57 in front of a cabinet. Well, maybe I can, you can tolerate what comes out, but you don't want me singing in front of a microphone. So I trust your review of the Rode Y2K. What was that?
No, that was the one I had before, the Rode NTK. This is just the Rode K2.
K2, okay.
It sounds really cheap, this plastic sound, right? But I'm not using that right now. I'm just using this Rode NT1. So any gear for you? Geeking out on any gear?
I haven't purchased any new gear for music in quite a while. I did place an order for some parts for my Camaro today. Disc brake conversion kit. That's going to be fun to install if it ever gets here. Like everything else is on back order. So
we could talk about movies, music, cars too.
Yeah, we could, hobbies in general. I mean, I have more hobbies than I should. So,
what's your go-to hobby? If you've got a Saturday afternoon, what are you going to be doing? And the weather's nice.
And the weather's nice.
Yeah.
I'm working on the Camaro.
And what if it's not nice?
Weather's not nice. I am either in this room with one of those plugged into my amp, or I have a full leather crafting studio in my basement. So just make things out of leather.
I've seen some of that stuff. It's pretty cool. You must make a killing during the Renaissance Festival on some of that stuff, right?
We don't. In the past, we've done okay, but we don't have our own booth. I guess you'd say we a friend of ours lets us put some of our stuff up, and we end up not costing us anything for the 7-week run, as far as gas, dog kennel. It all pays for what we sell. Pays for that, and pays for our food for the whole the whole run of the fair. And so if I really pursued it, I could probably do a lot better, but it's just a hobby.
Yeah.
It turned in, originated me wanting to make some stuff for myself. And then of course someone says, cool, where'd you get that? Oh, I made it. Oh, could you make me one? So, just like any other hobby, you don't want it to turn into a job where you learn to hate it. So it's fun.
Yeah.
But it's one of those, And there's so many more, or else we're out looking for vinyl. The record collection has exploded, and that would be even a fun segment to do is,
Yeah.
show up a vinyl, show off some vinyl. So yeah, we can go a lot of different ways with this. And if anybody has any suggestions on what type of content they would like to see, just post it down in the comments below.
Put it in the comments below.
Yeah.
And make sure you subscribe.
Yep.
I can't wait to see who our first subscribers that isn't us.
That isn't us. I was going to say, we already have one.
Yeah. That's not us.
Well, that's not us. Yeah.
And
yeah.
It'd be kind of weird if we had someone right now. We haven't posted anything yet, but
yeah, that would be kind of weird.
Yeah. Yeah. So the Shaquille O'Neal, I forgot to go back to this, the Shaquille O'Neal approved microphone. Not that I want to keep talking about my microphones. I did a marketing event for my company a few months ago. And did I tell you this story, Dave?
Yes, but
you want me to do it? You want me to do it?
Go for it.
All right. I feel like I'm telling the story over and over again. So I'm emceeing it. And basically Shaq came in to a Zoom session with some of our customers and their kids. And by the way, Shaq is awesome in those types of environments. He's really cool, very personable. And so we set the stage with the customers, and we said, Shaq's going to be on in about 15 minutes. We're going to do some trivia. He's going to read the questions, and you're going to play this game called Kahoot, which the kids use. It's like an online trivia platform that you can use a browser with. Anyways, he's going to read the questions, and then we're going to give out prizes to the winners. And then after that, we'll have about 40 minutes where you guys can ask him questions. Now, what we're going to do is you're going to raise your hand digitally, and like this in Zoom. You're just going to raise your hand, right? And then I will call on you, and then you can ask your question to Shaq. So it would be something like this. It'd be like, hey, Shaq, next person to ask a question is David. David, go ahead with your question. And I just did this for like 40 minutes, right? And we got towards, it was like everyone could kind of tell the time was ending with our time with Shaq. But we had like 10 minutes left. So there's hardly any questions coming up. Nobody's raising their hands. And I said, Shaq, we don't have any questions, but I have a question for you. Before I could even ask the question, he goes, hold up. And I'm doing a terrible Shaq impersonation here. Hold up, AJ, your voice is so sexy. And I'm like, okay, how do I respond to this? And just when you thought of people, you could see in the video, everyone's faces they were all laughing and giggling and stuff. And he didn't end there though. He was like, it's so sexy. It makes me want to take my shirt off. And what do you do then when Shaquille O'Neal says your voice compels him to take his shirt off? But the reality is he said he was complimenting the microphone. And I said, yeah, Shaq, I get that from a lot of people at work. It's just the microphone. It's not my voice. And then I asked him a question. So, but
in reality, without the microphone, you sound like from Pirates of the Caribbean. This is what I normally sound like.
It's very nasally. It sounds like I have a head cold all the time.
Instead, you sound like Alan Allman. This is Pillow Talk.
Myself go to sleep by talking to myself. So,
and then this is Kenny G from 1989 with a song I don't remember, but it's just long and smooth.
Yeah, everyone still gets a kick out of that when I get on the call, and I'm just like, hey, what are we talking about today? I didn't see anything in the agenda. I'm just going to do this for 12 minutes. Okay.
Oh, boy.
Well, the customers love it when you get on Zoom with them. Like, oh, my God, dude. I feel underdressed. I only have this little microphone in my ear. So, all right, we should probably wrap up. Thanks, everyone, for joining. Be sure to subscribe. Share this with all your friends. We're going to come up with more weird content, but you can also something like that just to suggest it, right? I was on a roll and I kind of cut myself there.
Yeah.
I like the wall break a lot in my world.
The what?
The wall break. Fourth wall break. You ever heard of that term?
No.
So you watch Deadpool?
Yes.
He does it all the time. He talks to the camera. That's the fourth wall. He's breaking through the fourth wall. And I didn't realize what the hell he was talking about when he went, that's a fourth wall break inside of a fourth wall break inside of a fourth wall break. I'm like, wait a second, what is that? So I guess it's just a thing in in movies that, like, when you look at the camera, like I mean, the next thing you know, you're gonna be wearing a bra on your head, and he looks at the camera. Exactly, it's a wall break. I didn't know that, but anyways, I do that a lot apparently. Ferris Bueller's Day Off was like tons of wall breaks. He was constantly doing that, coming out of character. I talked to, hey, I'm never gonna let a guy like that catch me.
Yeah. Life moves pretty fast.
Yeah.
You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
Maybe that's what we need to do. We need to end our shows with like memorable 80s quotes.
Yeah.
Like The Breakfast Club. We'll have to do that. The next show we should do that. We'll do that for The Breakfast Club. We're going to leave you with this. And one of us reads it. Or we both read it.
Well, you got to read it. I mean,
Right.
Anthony Michael Hall. Anthony Michael Paul. Anthony.
Hold on, let's do this. We're going to do this. Let's just give it a try real quick. Okay. Breakfast. Dear Mr. Vernon, we accept the fact that we had to sacrifice a whole Saturday in detention for whatever it is we did wrong. But we think you're crazy for making us write an essay telling you who we think we are. You see us as you want to see us, in the simplest terms, in the most convenient definitions. But what we found out is that each one of us is a brain, an athlete, a basket case, a princess, and a criminal. Does that answer your question? Sincerely yours, The Breakfast Club.